Hello friends. Gonna be doing something a little different because my goodness, did this week not go how it was supposed to. This week, instead of what I had originally planned, because I didn't have time to finish writing my script, I'm instead going to go over some of the Pinterest posts that I've saved this week and talk how they relate to folk healing. So, without further ado, roll the intro. All right, so for the things I have saved this week to share, most of them are what would be considered an aphorism or a concise statement of principle. Sometimes they are also called an adage or a proverb. While there are minute differences between these three words, they're all essentially saying the same thing. A concise statement of wisdom. So we're going to start with one that I selected due to its pertinence to the events of this week. It is a quote from Shannon L. Alder, and it reads thusly: "You cannot become a peacemaker without communication. Silence is a passive-aggressive grenade thrown by insecure people that want war, but they don't want the accountability of starting it." The reason I'm bringing that up, and this quote in particular, is because I have been accused of this in the past by people who don't understand the difference between a healthy boundary and passive-aggressive silence. Because there is a distinction. When you are being passive-aggressive with your silence, it's that you have not communicated what the boundary is and you have just left, essentially. If it is a healthy boundary, it means that there has been some form of communication of the boundary of, I'm not going to talk to you anymore because I do not appreciate being treated the way I am being treated. It can also be the tactic of someone who is trying to avoid greater social repercussion. The social dynamics that I find myself in my current life are complicated. They are greatly simplified by just not engaging with certain individuals, which is a healthy boundary, not being passive-aggressive. So, second quote plays right into this one. "Somebody is mad at you right now because you picked peace over drama and distance over disrespect." Boundaries again. As a folk healer, having learned more about myself and more about my individual triggers and my individual difficulties with certain family members, distance is what keeps peace in my life. Because I refuse to be disrespected and abused again. It is shocking the number of people who do not understand the difference between a healthy boundary and just ghosting or anything along those lines. In my case, I choose peace. There are those who choose to just wander around, making a large mess everywhere they go, because they don't want to communicate. They just want everyone to do what they want, because they are very controlling and demanding. It is not a bad thing to put distance between yourself and these individuals. It's a healthy thing. Third, also along the same topic, sometimes blood isn't thicker than water, and family will cross you quicker than strangers. This plays into folk healing because quite frequently the bonds we create with our friends, with those we practice magic with those we have religious connections, a lot of times end up becoming a stronger relationship than those of our birth family. Our chosen connections are often more powerful than the blood bonds of family. And there's nothing wrong with that. That can be a very healthy place to be. Moving along. This one, just real quickly. Avoiding certain people to protect your mental health is not a weakness. It's wisdom. I find I have a lot of family members go, well, why won't you talk to X person? Why are you mad at X person? A lot of times it's not that I'm mad anymore. Is that for my own mental health? I avoid them. I don't talk to them because it's too painful. And I don't want to spend an entire week cleaning myself up after interacting with someone who wants to treat the house like a pigsty and air out all the dirty laundry to anyone who will listen. So, instead, I avoid them. And that brings us to the next one. I will unfriend, uncousin, uncoworker, unfollow, unfamily a draining soul real quick. Again, boundaries. You need to communicate it. It's not just a, well, you're gone now. It's a, I am no longer allowing you to be a drain on my time, energy, and resources. That is the boundary I have set. Okay, moving into a different category of quotes. These ones are more about truth, more about communication, and we'll get into how they apply to folk healing. Slander reveals the greatest truth about the coward implementing it. Slander is untrue statements about a person. Slander doesn't typically last very long because the truth is more often revealed through people's actions than through the words of someone who talks a lot. This applies to folk healing because of the sheer number of spells and rituals dedicated to forcing the truth into the open, of binding people to tell the truth. This is one of the things that is asked to be done very regularly in my experience. And the reason why is, in part, with this next one. To anger an honest person, lie to them. To anger a narcissist, tell them the truth. I'm sure that most people who watch this type of content have encountered this, where lying to someone who is honest, it doesn't go well, particularly when they find out they've been lied to. That's when the boundaries come out again. To anger a narcissist, tell them the truth. It's because they've found that they don't have any power over you. They can't manipulate you. They can't trick you into believing them anymore. And the last one in this general category is an Arab proverb. When you shoot an arrow of truth, dip its point in honey. Truth can be very painful to those who have been living in denial for a very long time. It can be a very pointed experience. You don't have to be cruel in telling the truth. You need to be direct, like the point of an arrow. You need to be forceful, not allow yourself to be lied to, not allow yourself to be manipulated. But you don't have to be cruel either. Honey is a universal sweetener. All right. This one I'm just including because it was fun to see. Religion worships the light. Science studies the light. The mystic turns on the light. Perspective, framing. So much of folk magic and folk healing is about framing. They're all talking about the same thing. They're all talking about light. But one is a very devoted worship. One is, how does this function? And the other one's just saying, it works, so I'm going to use it. I see that a lot. Another proverb, again, regarding light, but in a very different capacity. A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. It's an Italian proverb. And so this one I'm going to talk a little bit about scripture. A light on a hill cannot be hid. A variety of other things. To light one candle with another, all you've done is... someone's calling me. Give a second. Nope, bye-bye. All right. Train of thought. A candle loses nothing from its light when you light another candle. It just gave the activation energy to something else. That is something I see a lot in folk healing as well. A lot of times, while we can devote a phenomenal amount of energy to a task, if we instead provide someone with the tools or the light, then they can do a phenomenal number of things for themselves. For certain tasks, it's still easier to ask someone who's not involved in the scenario to do a working. But a lot of the most fulfilling experiences I have had is with other practitioners who we shared the knowledge that we had to improve each other's practice, to improve the circumstances of each other's lives. Okay. Oh. The cost of sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation. Quote by Terence McKenna. Oh boy. Yeah. So I have, throughout most of my life, been the weird kid, the outcast of most groups, until fairly recently in life, where I found people who I actually connected with, who I actually jived with. So don't be afraid of alienation, particularly when you are practicing folk healing, practicing magic, of a religious minority, any of those things. Alienation is part of the human experience. Living true to yourself, that's difficult. But we feel so much better when we do. I say this as much to remind myself as to anyone who needs to hear it. Okay. Forgiving you without an apology is my gift to you. Moving forward without you is my gift to myself. This has been something I had to learn the hard way. I was taught that you accept apologies and you forgive and forget. A very misquoted, misunderstood Christian ideal. I forgive, but I do not forget. And a lot of times, forgiveness is to say, I will no longer harbor ill will towards this person. But I'm not going to let them hurt me again either. They can live in my past. Chinese proverb is next. When the winds of change blow, some people build walls, and others build windmills. Change is inevitable, but we can use it to empower ourselves to move forward in life, to make progress by building a windmill, or we can block ourselves off from that creative momentum by putting up a wall. So I'm gonna sign off for now and say thank you for sticking with me if you stuck with me this far. I'd love it if you subscribed and liked the video. And until next time, walk in the light, my friends.